To be. We're up. So now I got to do my usual setup. On. Purple. Let's roll with it. This purple square is my friend today. Why it's there, I do not know. Is there like a setting to make this? I don't understand why it would compress it. That's like something I can do mid-game. So, purple block is our friend. Ooh. More observational surveys at the moon. Take that one. We'll take that contract because why not? Let's see what we have for contracts, actually. Observational surveys and temperature surveys and polar orbit Minmus satellite. We could probably do that today. I don't know where this is supposed to be. Well, let's start getting the moon transport on its way back. While we're doing all this. Get to Valentina Kermit Station. Ooh. That's healthy. All right. Tedman is going to head on his way back. We don't need probably all the fuel that's on here. So I'm going to stock up just enough fuel to fill this top section. Take it all out of the reserve tank. Actually, it's leaving me a little shorter than I thought it would leave me. We'll need to take fuel out of the station. I might have misjudged that last time. Still leaves me like a good amount of fuel, not a lot of fuel. Well, we're going to try it as is. Pardon me. Because that's what we have. The docking mode RCS. Got us backed off from the station. We need to plan our transfer burn back to Kerbin. Yeah, I like that one right there. That looks pretty good. I have a 5-second burn. We're gonna warp here. Go up to the maneuver. Of course, catching back up to the station somehow. Yep, exactly. Exactly, yup. We have our new friend, Mr. Purple Dot, joining us today because of our awkward change in screen resolution. I don't know what's causing that. All right. Tedman's about ready to take the transfer vehicle back to Kerbin. It's going to be a 5-second burn, so we're going to start at about 3 or 2 seconds away. 2 or 3. Whoop! Okay. No, we're not. So that was a forward pitch. We need this down to... Forgot to retune the engines. A little more out of this guy. There we go. Forgot to retune the engines for the removal of the fuel from the extra tank there. That's alright, we still kind of accomplished our maneuver. Shouldn't be too far off from completing this one. Alright, now our new satellite in mid-miss orbit. Work on getting the contract for this one. So I think this one way out here is the nice big money one. And it is, of course, a retrograde orbit, which sucks. So I'm really just going to look to get the inclination correct for the moment. Which I thought I was... No, I was off. Doing that way off. I thought I was doing that at the ascending node, and I was not. Now we are. Okay. So, mix of retrograde and normal, anti-normal burning. So that'll be our first maneuver. Then we're going to have to completely switch directions, which is going to suck. Waste a lot of fuel. Not to mention, I did not consider the fact that we are going in this direction. Let's do the retrograde side first. Let's get rid of this. Okay. Now back to the ascending and descending node. Right there. That looks pretty good. We'll warp into the maneuver. All right. Almost there. Thankfully, Minimus has a very low gravity, so aren't that bad. So 1 second away is where we're going to start burning. Or even is Minimus out of this? Oh, there it is. A little bit of correction. Perfect. Very good. Now we're on at least the right plane. Now let's see if we can do a maneuver. Adjust the height of the orbit. Because I want the current apogee and our target perigee to be about the same, so we can do this in 2 burns. Do a Hohmann transfer. And that would be a proper Hohmann transfer if we do that. This will be another 2-second burn. Warp to the maneuver. A little closer. Nope, overdid it. There we go. You're pretty close. Yeah, pretty close. Overshot it by just a bit. That's much closer. What's happening? Because that's not a retrograde orbit. Why did I do that? Oh well. Right here, let's add a maneuver. Boom. Let's just completely flip around again. Nope. No inclination change, please. So we go all the way retrograde, all the way back around. Because I am a fool. Oop. Why that looks so funky? Oh. Oh. Because there's inclination difference. There is actually inclination difference. Should be pretty close. Might even be contract worthy. But that is 4 days away, that maneuver. No idea why I did that reversal in the first place, because I never needed to do it. Now I need to do it back. But at least they gave us something to do there while we got the moon transfer vehicle on its way. Perigee, we're going to add a maneuver. Oops, that was kind of funky. And we're going to set the Jebediah Kermit Station as a target. We're actually going to do this maneuver at the descending node so we can correct that. Combine all these maneuvers. Okay, that should give us, yep, some closest point of intersect there. Just make some radial change. It's a pretty good intersect right there. Pretty close. Need to just fix the timing a little bit. Oop, not that much. Wow. What? Can we just do this correctly here? There we go. Different altitudes, I think. Slightly. There you go, 0.1. Had it. Dang. There it is. Alright, so that's our maneuver. Got a 20-second maneuver. Except where's my... Oh, there we go. Can I set focus on it? Apparently not. Way too easy. So we'll bring it in. Well, I don't think I was as successful as I thought I was in terms of fuel. I don't think I'm going to be able to ever bring fuel to the moon station with this. I think I am lucky on this that I can make it back and forth without refueling. Which is kind of a shame. Okay. So I want to get about 10 seconds away from the burn. Still have to check on my cleanup vehicle as well. Still have a cleanup vehicle in space. Launch a few more as well to do cleanup missions. A little bit of engine tuning as I do this. Did put us off a little bit. I think this is more like... I think the big one is shutting off those two helper engines at the bottom. Do those correction burns. There we go. Kill the maneuver. Actual intersect here. And it is probably going to be in terms of timing. So if I find our radial points here, rather than setting a new maneuver, I'm just going to very gently adjust radially and see if I can't correct our goof up. Yeah, that was that was the right direction, but that was way more fuel even than I needed, more burn than I needed. An incredibly tiny amount of maneuver at this point. So what I could do, go to docking mode, RCS, oh, I'm making it worse. So now that I know that, .5. 1.3. 0.9. 0.5. That is ridiculous how little we need to adjust. Not that I'm complaining. There we go, 0.1. Okay. Thank you, RCS thrusters. Thank you for doing your job. And then we're going to have quite a bit of an adjustment here. And I'm not going to do this accurately. I'm just going to see what 754 meters a second, 54 meters a second looks like in terms of delta V. See how many seconds of burn time I actually need to get this. So we're looking at like an 18-second burn. So let's do this as like, it doesn't work. Let's try away from that. So let's do 12 seconds away is where we'll do our retrograde burn. Comes our pod. Put a maneuver right on it. Maybe let's not do 12. Maybe let's do like 10 seconds away. 18-second burn, 10 seconds away. Let's do that. So at 10 seconds away from the station. No, that's too much. We're gonna go flying past it. We'll do 12 seconds. 12 seconds away. Spitballing it. We will start to decelerate relative to the station. But we need to be in staging mode. Well, that didn't work at all. Let's also gear this up a little more. Sort of like 90 maybe. Really lost as we were going relative to the station there. this back down a little bit. We did that with just enough fuel, so this thing has like exactly enough delta V to do moon station and back. Just playing it a little tight with the fuel capacity. Let's try and close that distance relatively fast and get this going. So we have a lot of RCS on this anyway. Not bad. If I figured out the engine tuning a little bit. Is it full? It is, okay. Start slowing down our approach. Cancel our movement to target. Alright, now I can aim directly at it again. Aim a little bit this way, since the port should be on the far side of the station over here. Nice and slow. We got to do this whole refueling procedure all over again. And get a new crew on here. A fully crewed moon station. target port. Just need to focus on alignment. For some reason, Roll likes to goof this thing a lot. Can we not do that craziness? There we go. Okay. Pretty decent. Okay, this way. A little more pitch. Especially is docking and landing in the dark and doesn't believe in lights. Yes, lights are a myth. Moon landings are real, lights are a myth. Okay, let's go into linear RCS again. Let's head towards the station now, so I can see our prograde relative to our current targeting. And that should do nicely. Looking good. Looking real good. Got a little bit of rotation we need to fix. But I think if we just turn off our SAS and RCS right now, I think we'll be good. Nope, we'll just bump the station gently. Wobble around like idiots. There it is. I knew we were at kind of a funky angle there. But alright. Transfer vehicle back to the station. Start pumping in some of the fuel here, getting that sucker going. This thing turning and burning. Okay. Rigby, get down. Dick. cats are everywhere. Science labs are doing good. We sent back some science from this lab here. We currently have 34 that we could send back as well right now. Which, we've got tons of power on the station, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like 9,000 electric charge. So we can transmit science down, no problem. Yeah, this one's got 520 data in there at the moment. Getting 7 science a day. Moon station's giving us 10 a day. And it has plenty of backup. So that one's pretty good. Now this tank, we need to get full the rest of the way. Keep taking from these crew launch vehicles. And then we will refill them from these tinier tanks. So we have equal and barely sufficient amounts of fuel to deorbit, so we don't waste anything. Which I think then I want to use these, probably these baguette tanks to do that. 24.3, yeah, versus, yeah, meh. Oh, this one still has oxidizer. That's weird. So I cut that off early. Okay, all these things are now empty. We want to give them minimal fuel, 45. So yeah, let's just give them see. $45 should be more than sufficient. Wish I could do this with multiple tanks at the same time. The other thing I could do, I could probably take some reserve fuel tanks on these. So I could just pull from the main tanks, keep the reserves already locked in. And I get rid of some of the excess RCS. Although, this is basically our primary source of RCS for the transfer vehicle as well that way. So, meh. Definitely getting there though. We're definitely chipping away at our fuel. On the one crazy overdone fuel capacity of the Jebediah Kerman station. Now this time we'll be bringing a engineer back to the Mun station, which will help us a little bit trying to figure out. I did damage a solar panel on one of the landers yesterday. Not anything mission critical. Still perfectly good since it was a redundant solar panel. But I'm going to see if an engineer can fix them. That would be an interesting experiment. I've never checked that. I really wish there was a way to speed up the fuel transfers. It's like being punished to play smart. We do use a lot of fuel getting to the moon and back with this thing. I think that's like 3,000 delta V in its configuration. So it amazes me. Unless it's heavier than I thought it was, which could be the case. Is it still insanely more efficient than if you're taking off from Kerbal? Yes, definitely. Yeah, basically we're completely avoiding that deorbit and then orbit each time. And the nice thing is because we're able to refuel on the Jeb station and don't have to refuel at the moon station at all, we can just get full-size fuel tanks up into space relatively cheap with a few parts on them and refuel from those. Plus, like I just did, stealing from the crew vehicles as well. Crew launch vehicles don't need very much fuel for return, and the launcher we have is cheaper, actually, than the launchers that can launch less payload for some reason. The way it worked out. Just a cheaper design. So to use all that fuel, or to use all that capability, I've filled these up with extra fuel that we basically don't need. So basically like little refueling tanks in of themselves. Right now I think we're about 1,000 credits for every ton that we launch to orbit. So with this thing already having like 5 empty tons, it's got to be even more than that probably, like 8 or 9 empty tons. Because this is 2.5 alone. It saves us a lot on launches. This is actually how NASA wanted to do this as well. This was what we have now, what we had, the space shuttle was actually derived from the STS program. Not to be confused with the current SLS program, but the STS program, or Space Transport System, was an entire infrastructure that they were going to put in and have a single station in orbit of Earth, a single station in orbit of the Moon, and they would have a nuclear-powered vehicle to go between the two, which they did actually develop, the nuclear-powered engines, and they are insanely efficient. And that would go between the two stations, carry the crew, just like our transfer vehicle does. And the space shuttle worked into that as being a servicing vehicle. It would capture the transfer vehicle and be able to refit it if necessary. It would be like an orbital workshop to refit it when necessary. And they would have, I think the plan was to have a completely separate passenger shuttle that would be for carrying people up safely. And instead what we did is we combined both space shuttle concepts into one, made it kind of do neither very well, cost a lot of money, and be totally unsafe for crew. And we can thank Congress for that one. And politicians get involved. Lame, 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 that part looks cool. And then that's basically how that happened. Actually, more what happened was they said, well, can a moon station launch DoD payloads? And NASA said no. Can a orbital station launch DoD payloads? And NASA said kind of, sort of, but no. And they said, can a nuclear transfer vehicle? And they said, can a space shuttle launch DoD payloads? And they said yes. And they said, okay, yeah, that's going to be the one we go with. Government. And then I think it was Bush Sr. that kind of brought up the idea of making a American modular space station to rival Mir, which was very originally supposed to be named Space Station Freedom. Just the most original American name for anything ever. And that got canceled. And they had already developed some stuff for it, and the Russians were going to launch Mir 2 to replace the original Mir, and that got canceled. The Russians and the Americans went, I've got half a station, you've got half a station, let's launch it. And thus we have the International Space Station. Although people don't realize that the Americans were involved on Mir. Sort of. By the end of Mir, we had the Spectrum module, which was all the American lab. It subsequently got, smashed into by Progress cargo vehicle and rendered completely unusable. And then we also had Shuttle Mir programs. So we had multiple different space shuttles actually go to Mir. Even adding our own module completely, which is a very small module, it's just a docking adapter. But it still counts. Okay, now monopropellant refuel. And then we can get a new crew on here after we're done refueling. I just think of that Family Guy, Officer Reese's, every time I think of the International Space Station now. It's like, hey, you got Mir in our Space Station Freedom in our Mir. BAM! And then the International Space Station. NASA, what seems to be the problem here? Mir itself, though, was a result of multiple abandoned projects, sort of, kind of. The Russians had their Salyut space station program and their Almaz space station program, which were more or less interchangeable. Fairly close, anyway, for the key modules. The main Almaz station components were Salyut components. And the Almaz were the military Salyut station. They had Salyut numbering because they figured then the Americans wouldn't catch on that they were actually military space stations. And then eventually the Russians realized that military spy satellites are much smarter than military spy space stations. And got rid of that idea. Not before they fired a cannon in space, though. Gotta give them credit for that one. Arming one of their space stations with a cannon. Very sci-fi. Anyway, then they had a support module. It was originally supposed to be their cargo replenishment and like temporary habitation module kind of combination called TKS, and that was supposed to be like what the Progress is now, but then they were also developing the Progress for Salyut, and they just decided to use it for the Almaz as well. So then they had this TKS frame, and they ended up converting that into on Mir. So the original module on Mir was a Salyut station with a modified core to have an extra 5 docking ports, or an extra 4 docking ports, I should say, over the normal 2. TKS craft were then used for the other 5 modules, or the 5 main modules, and then Progress and Soyuz-based craft were used to bring crew up and supplies up. Okay, I think we are back to fully loaded. Finally. Now, Debdorf, I think. Yeah. I don't know why I just EVA'd, but I want to make sure that Debdorf was not in the lab. So we'll transfer Debdorf to our capsule. Now I need to take 2 more scientists. Ronner's got plenty of experience there. Cabin is still our current lab specialist. So we want to take Cambo. I think Nedbo's going to be our other guy. All right. Back underway. Nice quick turnaround time there, aside from the ridiculous amount of refueling. Or perhaps despite it. Really wasn't too bad. Now, I want to plan out our maneuver for getting back to the moon. Should probably be right about here. Yep, pretty dead on. If we do the burn here, we can do it more efficiently. There we go. Sure, we're drifting safely from the station. Over 3 minutes. We're going to want to reactivate these engines down here. I'm going to keep this one, I think, much at full throttle. Let's put it at 95. It's another 100. Just do a single test burn real quick. Perfect. Okay. So that bit of tuning I have down. Say goodbye to the Jeb Kerman station. As we are now moonward bound. Alright, so about 15 seconds away. From our maneuver. We'll want to initiate it. Shade our burn. $16 seconds actually. A little bit of correction. Tiny bit more. Unless we're already heading to the moon, in which case I was just going to cancel it. Yep, we're good. Doesn't have to be that precise. Alright, so they are now on their way back to the moon. Or Tedman is. He's just taking Nedbo, Cambo, which I just realized their names kind of rhyme, and Debdorf. Cambo, Nedbo, and Tedman. Debdorf. Weird names. Weird names. Now, since they're on their way, we might actually be coming up now on a situation where we can finally get this extra fuel tank up. Oop. So this extra fuel tank has been circling around the planet for a little bit. This was the test of our 20-ton launch vehicle, our heaviest launch vehicle so far. And what we want is to try and plan out a rendezvous with Jeb Kerman Station, which is finally looking like on next orbit we'll be able to do. Time warp just a little bit so I can move the maneuver forward. Is 2 really the best we get? Is there an ascending node issue? No. Okay, a little more, and a little more, and a little more, and a little more, a little more of this, a little more of that. So all I'm doing is increasing how much we're accelerating, and then changing when we actually start our burn. There we go. It's pretty good. A little 5-second burn. We're going to warp around the orbit just once. We'll be able to replace some of that fuel we just went ahead and threw in there. Still got the cleanup probe out there. It's coming up on a rendezvous possibility as well. So I might go ahead and take care of that right after this. tank auto aim prograde. A little bit more. Perfect. Okay, we now have a very good intercept coming up. Not a lot of speed to bleed off. So you want to aim retrograde to the station. Right, there it is. Right on time. All right. And we flip around. On our very difficult to flip around vehicle. Used RCS a little bit to cheat there. Alright, now, docking mode, linear, RCS. can't pick out individual parts yet. We can. Well, maybe I'll just keep going the way I was going and then adjust at the last second here. This is very slow to turn. I don't think that's a good idea to try and do that now. So heading for that fuel tank ring at the front. This thing is very hard to control. So I didn't put any reaction wheels on it. Because that would have been too smart. Okay, there we go. Just don't hit that solar panel. Looks fairly well lined up. A little more that way. I don't know why that hit that when I... I don't know why it yawed when I rolled. It was kind of weird. There we go. Finally, I think, satisfactory alignment. Okay, or it could just flip back for some reason. Why is it flipping back to that point? I wish there was stuff like the Canada arm to grab this stuff and put it on the station. Oh, the pitch is way off on this. How that got goofed. Really needed it to not do that. That was really not cool. Okay, stop wasting RCS, you fucking thing. Try that again. So I want to try and line this up so it's in the correct alignment this time. I really don't like how heavy this thing is. It just keeps going. Like, I have to use the RCS to aim it. Alright, going for it again. Still off a little bit. It looks much better. There we go. Finally. That was a battle. Now, a ton of monoprop in that thing. I wonder if I can just deorbit this with monoprop. Well, this tank definitely got more into orbit than these other tanks, I think. Definitely, I think. I'll add it up in a second. Let's see. So this 1440 versus it's about 400. That's about 800. So 1200. Add up the differences. Yeah. Less than 1300. Yeah, it's like almost the same. It's like comparable. These tanks worked just fine. Alright, well that was a fun adventure. We're going to leave that there for now. Let's go to the cleanup probe. I think we've now missed the window to have this grab anything new conveniently. Yeah, it's going to take a while. So while that one's doing its thing, I think I might launch another one to try and take down one of these crazy relays, like the 3.5 relay. Can Orbiter 3.3 see sun yet? If this can see sun, I might be able to deorbit it. Yes! Yes! Rotate the solar panel to the sun right now. Yes. These probes that way back when saving Nedbo, I kept thinking I was out of radio contact and I was wrong. It's all just power. Yes. Suck the sweet, life-giving fruit of the sun. This is from way back. Like episode 7 or something? When we were trying to save Nedbo and finally got him. Where's Kerbin? Oh, there it is. Oh, we'll use this as an ablator test at least. Believe me, we're going to be pushing this ablator to its limit. Just falling directly into Kerbin. And this time we're actually going to follow it, because what we're going to do is we're going to try and save the capsule. Because I can. Because I can, don't judge me. That's why. Well, let's just expedite this a little bit so we have fuel. It's straight for Kerbin. Faster. Now rapidly accelerating towards Kerbin. So we slip down its gravity well. Back to normal time. Yeah, we're going a little more than orbital velocity towards Kerbin right now. Let's flip us around. Let's stage off the lower stage. This is now at real speed. Now basically at escape velocity, but heading straight towards Kerbin. Finally start hitting the atmosphere and slowing down shortly here. This is real speed going this fast. This is a crazy re-entry. Holy crap. Alright, as soon as the drogue is safe to deploy, we're deploying that. And yet we only used 7 points of our 260 points of ablator. Now I know why Scott Manley said the ablators are ridiculous, and you don't need them to that degree. 100. $11 points. 11 points of ablator that we used. This thing has been on a very long mission. Probably switch to the stations pretty soon and relay enough science back to unlock something. Another cleanup probe. This time, though, nope. Was that already a 0.5? That's already a 0.5 fairing. Okay. So let's do. How heavy is it now? 3 tons. Get a lighter engine. That should do. This doesn't want to do what I want it to do there. That stinks. Well, it'll be fine. So we're going to take this one this time. And we're going to throw it on K7 here, which is much better suited for the longer mission we're going to be attempting here. We are going to put a couple other things on here. We need a decoupler. Yeah, whatever. We'll put that on. And we can put a payload fairing on. Okay, we got all the bottom parts of the K7 ready. And the boosters separate. And we go on to the second stage engine. Then we drop the fairing. Then we're going to go to the third stage engine. And then we have a final engine stage. Then what we need before we launch, I need to remember this time. Looks kind of funky. Let's just fix that. There we go. Now we can move them properly. There we go. And that'll deorbit, not make more space trash while we're deorbiting space trash, because that would be very counterproductive. Same story there. All right. Let's go clean up some space junk. Captain Planet, he's a hero. Bringing space pollution down to 0. I guess that'd be Captain Off Planet. Not even sure like how I would even go about timing something like that. K1G1 refueler. Really want to get one of these orbiter relays. And that would be a retrograde orbit. Let's get one of the... I know there's an orbiter relay somewhere. That is prograde orbit. I'm not seeing it right now, though. Oh, because it's actually marked as a relay. Okay, yeah, it's on a high orbit, and it's going prograde orbit. So yeah, we'll go for that one. So off we go. Oop, these are on the wrong stage. Know how that happened. Okay, pitch over sharply. Drive a high apogee. Come on, stay on target. Stay on target. Okay, first stage seems to have done its job. Second stage engine takes over. Drop the fairing. Okay, now go totally horizontal. Get us up to orbital velocity. We see single solar panel, single antenna. Down a little bit actually, so we can stop driving a ridiculous apogee and just start working on orbit a little faster. Yeah, stage burnout. That is unusual for this rocket. I thought I was going under the usual payload capacity. Guess not. Well, that's fine. Just get the rest of the way there. Easy peasy. Alright, so now we've got this upper stage. Try and get us towards some kind of rendezvous with this relay. Which I'm not sure how we're going to do this. It's almost like doing a moon launch. Might have to do inclination change early, which I don't like. Doing inclination change at a low orbit is never a good idea. It takes more fuel. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cancel that out. We're going to get most of the way up to its orbit anyway. Doing prograde burns. It's going to get slightly above geosynchronous. Actually, I'm going to do the waste fuel maneuver and do this now. It won't be as bad now that we're going out and doing that. See, it's actually 9 seconds instead of a 16-second burn. We'll take less delta V to perform a inclination correction. Just doing that even. But the big thing is, I don't want to leave us in a position where we can't deorbit this lower stage. So I'd rather just start burning fuel now. The whole point of this is to remove space debris. Let's not cause space debris while removing space debris. So 5 seconds away, between 4 and 5 seconds away, we'll start this burn. There's our inclination maneuver. little bit of correction. Perfect. Okay, so now we're on the same inclination as our target. Add kind of a quirky maneuver here. My force pretty good. We'll get ready for this maneuver. A 28-second burn. Mostly radial. So at 14 seconds away, we'll start our maneuver. Make sure we get this one exactly right, because that's going to be a very narrow rendezvous window there. Yeah, it's already been brought down. It's actually going to be quite a ways away. And then we'll have to do a maneuver to attempt to cancel our movement to target once we get much closer. Which fortunately will be a pro-grade maneuver. So right here, what I want to do is figure out 384 meters a second of delta V. "26 seconds. So when we are 26 seconds away from our maneuver, that is where we need to be. So about 13 is probably where we're going to start doing this. Have to switch over to the moon transfer vehicle for a moment. Set up its maneuver. This parry up should be coming up relatively soon.